What's the link between our physical health and our mental health? Are they linked? And could there be things that I can do physically that actually helps my mind and filters out into the rest of my life and recovery? We're in for an interesting conversation today.
Recovery can be hard, but it's worth it. There is hope knowing we can find healing one step at a time with Jesus and healthy community. Whether you're struggling with a hurt or a hang-up or a habit, you're not alone. During this podcast, we share real stories, practical tools, and powerful truths that inspire you to keep moving forward. No matter where you are on your journey, there's hope ahead. So stick with us as we walk this path together through Celebrate Recovery.
Well, hey, y'all, welcome back to Hope in Recovery, a Fellowship Celebrate Recovery podcast where we talk life change stories and have recovery conversations to help keep us moving down this road of healing and recovery as we follow Jesus together. I'm super excited for today's conversation as we talk about the link between physical health and mental health and what are the benefits to taking care of my physical health. And as we do, we'll hear parts of a story of a friend of ours that's here with us today. But before we get to that, dude, just want to always say, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Google Podcasts or wherever else you can get podcasts. There's a ton of places. We're super glad that you're here and glad that you're here listening. And we hope and pray that these continue to be beneficial conversations for you. And so, hey, if you have any ideas or any comments, drop us a line, cr@fellowshipnwa.org. We would love to hear from you. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus, struggle with anxiety, depression, sexual addiction, and grief. My name is Andy, and I've got the great privilege of being a part of our staff team for Celebrate Recovery here at Fellowship Bible Church in Northwest Arkansas. And today, I've got a good friend of ours here in the studio with me. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with panic attacks, depression, and anger. My name's Sarah.
Hey, Sarah. Well, Sarah, I'm super excited for our conversation. Probably sometime last week, you reached out and said, hey, can we talk a little bit about just the link between our physical health and our mental health? And one of the reasons why is, you've been a volunteer with us for how long have you been a part of Celebrate Recovery now?
Oh gosh, this month, 10 years.
Holy cow,
Yeah.
that's awesome, Sarah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. But you organized this for us last year and you're doing it for us again, is our Celebrate Recovery 5K. And so can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we tried it out last year and had awesome attendance and interest, and just it was really birthed out of a desire to get people connected from their mental health and their physical health. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was super fun last year, and I know we had a great turnout, and I kind of struggled my way through running it and had a lot of fun with it, but I'm super excited. We're doing it September 26th
Yes.
this year.
Yep. Saturday morning.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. It'll be over at JB Hunt Park. It'll be a lot of fun. But I know one of the reasons why you wanted to start organizing it and looking at it is because running has been one of those things that has helped you, particularly in your recovery. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about, hey, what has your recovery journey looked like? What have you found to be like the links between your physical health and your mental health? And I think a good way to start would be, hey, what did it look like for you to get plugged in to Celebrate Recovery?
Yeah. So, mental health was actually what brought me to Celebrate Recovery. So I was seeing a therapist and was having panic attacks that
Yeah.
I felt like kind of were coming out of nowhere. And my therapist suggested Celebrate Recovery. And so panic attacks was what initially brought me to CR. And then I realized I had a whole lot of other issues once I got there that were kind of feeding into that. But yeah, panic attacks, anxiety, depression were really my primary reasons for seeking help in the first place. And I've always been an active person. I played soccer since I was probably 4 or 5 through college, and got out of college and was just trying to find a way to get active without having to do like a team sport. I still do some soccer here and there with some teams, but yeah, so got into running and some triathlons, and just as a way to boost my mental health. That was a suggestion from my therapist to,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, man, well, I think it's important to say this first. I think typically whenever I would think about like mental health struggles, I would think about like, oh, those are like severe struggles that maybe other people have. And as I've dug into my recovery,
Mm,
it's like, I deal with a level of depression, a level of anxiety in there. But also like all of us have an element of mental health in our story because
right,
all of us have a mind, all of us have
right.
emotions, all of us have
Yeah.
experiences in this life. Uh, and so I think it's important to say that, like, if you're listening to this today and you're thinking, "Oh, okay, they're talking about mental health. This doesn't apply to me." Yeah, it really, really does.
Right.
Like, there's not any of us that aren't touched by this in one degree or another.
Right.
And so, you mentioned, getting into running was like a suggestion from your therapist. What were some of the things that were going on in your life? You mentioned the panic attacks, but
Right.
what were some of those things that were going on in your life that like probably cued your therapist to go, "Hey, this might be a helpful thing." Like what were the symptoms?
Yeah. So initially, I was struggling with my mental health to the point where I thought it was starting to affect my day to day life. So didn't think I was going to be able to hold down a job. It was getting so bad. And I was really fighting not wanting to take medication for it, which I ended
Yeah.
up eventually starting to take medication for it and still do. And that's definitely helped me a lot. But in addition to that, it was do all the things you can do that
Yeah.
you have control over. So one thing that I have control over is physical activity, and it could just be get up and go for a walk. It doesn't have to be go run a marathon. And so yeah, just starting small. Like I said, I had always been involved in team sports, but at a certain point in your life, it's hard to like stay consistently involved in those. So it was replacing that with something else that I already enjoyed, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting what you said there, and I don't want to miss it. Like, so it was impacting my day-to-day life.
right,
I was kinda worried that, like, I couldn't hold down a job.
right.
Was that more like depression symptoms type stuff that was going on?
For me, it was both at the same time. So the panic attacks
Got it.
started having them fairly frequently. I'd say like once or twice a week. In addition to the panic, or in addition to the depression, which to me before I had those always seems like two completely opposite things. It was like, how can you be anxious and depressed at the same time? And
Yeah, they feed
yeah,
into each
you sure
other.
can. I learned that, but yeah, so the depression was really what was the struggle with. So I wanted to be active, but the
Yeah,
depression was keeping me from being active. So some of the tools that I learned through therapy were just, you know, small baby steps and not feeling ashamed about it. But like, if I'm too depressed to get off the couch, can I just go put my shoes on? It's
yeah,
like, like put your shoes on. And then once your shoes are on, can I go outside? Then can I walk? And then can I jog? And kind of like, instead of thinking I'm on the couch, I'm going to go run. Like,
yeah.
what are the steps between that?
That's so good, and, like, I wanna tease out a little bit because that idea of, like, depression and anxiety being linked, like, I resonate with that in
Mm,
my story, and, I also, like, some of these things that we're talking about can be things that are, like, consistent chronic things in our life. Sometimes they're
mm,
seasonal things.
right.
One of the interesting things about, depression is how oftentimes I know one of the things I see in me is that it just sucks the motivation
Mhm.
out of me, and, like, that I hear
Right.
that in you. And, I remember whenever I was first digging into my own mental health, one of the things I realized is that kind of a common thing, it's not like this all the time, but sort of a common thought system that revolves around depression is like devaluing kind of three key areas of our life that we devalue ourselves, that it's like, man, and that's where a lot of the shame plays in, that like, I am so defunct. I am so like, this is just who I am. And so I don't have any hope that I am going to get better. And so I am just totally devaluing my own self, my own worth. We're also devaluing our situation. Oftentimes depression, and sometimes like grief too. I think grief plays into this whenever we're experiencing heavy loss in our life, that grief and depression, it can kind of give us blinders to just our current situation. And so all we see is the negative and what's going on.
Right.
And then we also devalue our hope for a future. Like we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, and even if we know this is just a season, it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And so, which it makes sense then that our body is like, this feels like a really awful place. This feels like a dangerous place. And anxiety is a God-given emotion that alerts us to real or perceived danger in our life. And anxiety is actually a gift. It keeps us from like, playing in traffic on busy days, or, treating, bears as, bicycles. And so like, but it can get hijacked in those spaces there. And so it makes sense that our body can get spun up in that. And we just totally lose that motivation.
Right.
And so I loved how you were teasing out that idea of like, just what's a little bit of motion
Right.
that we can do here, and how do we get into that? And so what did those small steps of motion look like for you? Like,
Yeah, I had days where I just had to, get off the couch and put my shoes on, go for a walk, and then for me, it was try not to judge myself. Like maybe I only went for a walk today. Maybe I didn't run.
yeah,
Maybe I didn't do anything the next day, but it's kind of getting back on the horse, and a lot of positive self-talk throughout the process, I think helps.
yeah,
Because I'm really good at putting myself down, and that just feeds into the depression. And
yeah, yeah. I'm pretty gifted at that myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. What it reminds me of is kind of what we talk about in CR. It's one day at a time, one moment at a time. We're after
Right.
progress, not perfection.
Right.
If I'm chasing after perfection, then I'm chasing after something I'm never going to achieve, because newsflash, nobody's perfect this side of
Right.
heaven.
Right.
So it sounds, in my own struggles with whether it be depression or perfectionism or my own performance drivenness, like I'm really good at like spotting the ways that I'm failing. And it sounds like what you're talking about feels a whole lot more peppered with something called grace.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think what I've learned through the running community, and I said triathlons, just if you haven't never been to a race before, you'll show up and there's people of all walks, all
Yeah.
ages, all abilities, and I think that's what makes it so awesome. Is there'll be sometimes 200 or 300 people at a race, and there's one winner, but everybody's just there running their own race, and
Yeah.
that was hard for me because I've been a perfectionist, and so it's like, well, if I don't win, then I'm worthless. And I think in the running community, it's so, like, everyone's so encouraging, and you'll see everybody stay to cheer the last person on that crosses the finish line. And everybody's got their own thing in life that they're, working through. And it's fun to see the support in that community. So if you've never been to one, I'd say definitely
Yeah.
try one out. And if running's not your thing, try biking, try swimming, like just anything to get your heart rate up. I feel like, at least for me, helps my mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I think we need to go to a quick break here in a second, but when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about what you found in there, because I think what you just said is a great tee up to the benefits of leaning into just starting to explore that physical link to our mental health. We'll be right back.
Hey friends! A lot of people find the process of starting recovery scary because they aren't sure how to begin or what to expect. The easiest way to get started is simply to get started. Just take that next right step and go to a CR meeting. Every Friday night, we have our Celebrate Recovery meetings at Fellowship Fayetteville and Fellowship Rogers. At 6 p.m., we have a great meal for connection with other recovery brothers and sisters. Then we meet for large group at 7 p.m., followed by open share groups at 8. Same schedule on both campuses. Different teachers, different worship teams, but the same great experience. We'd love for you to join us this Friday night. It's never too late to start or start over again. For more information, go to fellowshipcr.org.
Well, hey, we're back having a great conversation with Sarah around just this, her own story with her mental health, but also the link that she found between just starting to find some motion in the physical health and how that impacts our mental health. And so, your therapist said, "Hey, you should do this. You should try this out." And seems like as you started out, just starting slow. Hey, let's put my shoes on. Hey, let's go for a walk. I'm not going to run a half marathon today, but I can walk down the block and back. As you got plugged into that, as you got plugged into some of the running communities here, what impact did you start to see? Did you see it overnight, or what did it look like?
I think parts of it were overnight. I remember showing up to the first one, and like I said, I was a perfectionist, and just it was eye-opening to see all of the people, like I said, different abilities, different ages, different places in life, encouraging each other. And just everybody was there for their own reason, their own personal kind of goal. It wasn't very few people were out there to win, I guess. And that's a struggle for me, because if I do something, I should win. So, it was pretty eye-opening, but in a good way, and refreshing, really, because that's one of the things I've been trying in life, is to find things that I don't have to be perfect at.
Yeah.
And that alone helps my mental health. So it's like a double win.
Yeah, it's that's so helpful, knowing that, like, I'm going to get plugged into this, and it's not about winning, it's just about showing up.
Right.
Which, that's kind of what recovery is about.
Right.
It's, how do you win at recovery? It's if you stay engaged in the process in there. And so that is really cool, just even to hear that. That's attractive to me, of like, just show up, just be there.
Yeah.
How did you notice start to impact your mental health?
I feel like I can definitely tell if I go through seasons where I'm not active. The depression will creep back in. Sometimes even some of the anxiety creeps back in. So yeah, even for me, there's two different things. There's an immediate impact. So right after I've gotten up and ran, I feel an immediate impact. But then if I'm consistent with it, I feel the long-term effects. So it helps both.
What do you feel like that immediate impact is? Like, bring us into that.
Yeah. I think you'd think after you run that you'd be less energetic, but I feel like I feel a little bit more energetic. I feel better about myself, like self-esteem gets better. Even if I'm not running fast, like even if I just go outside, my self-esteem gets better. Yeah. Some joy. Just,
Yeah, I did this.
Right.
There's a sense of accomplishment.
Right.
Well, and we know that even from like brain science. It's like, aerobic activity, like, or really just any activity where we're getting our heart rate up a little bit. Like, it actually, it releases endorphins. It releases dopamine. Like, it actually helps us to feel better.
Right.
It raises our mood, which is so awesome, because I think, like, in my recovery, I ran to all the wrong things to be a mood elevator for me.
Yeah.
And like, this is actually like a cool God-given gift of like, man, we can go out and use these bodies that God has given us.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel like the long-term impact is?
Well, I'd say over the last, I've probably been in the running environment for maybe 10 years, 9 or 10 years. And I'd say I struggle, like I said, I do the medication. I try to eat right. There's all the things, right? And exercise is just one of those. But I feel like my seasons of poor mental health get shorter and less often if I'm consistent with all the good stuff. Like I still am going to have those and I have to give myself grace. Like that's just going to happen and that's
Yeah.
life. But yeah, I feel like they're less often and less impactful.
Yeah. That's such an important point there, Sarah. Like, and I love how you said that. And you mentioned it earlier, and I'm glad you circled back to it. Is like dealing with our mental health. It's like what helps is everything that we can do.
Right.
And so there is a huge link between our physical health, and one aspect of our physical health
Mm-hmm.
is like, what does our activity level look like?
Right.
And if we can raise that a little bit, if we can get our body moving a little bit, it helps our mind feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other aspects to it.
Right.
And I think it's important to say this too, like when it comes to like particular mental health struggles, sometimes we do need medication, and that's okay. And we get so weird about that in the
Right.
church, and that's so unfortunate. I think it's so stigmatized. We would never shame somebody for like needing like a pill if they had like high cholesterol.
Right.
But like when it comes to our brain being off, sometimes we get weird about that.
Right.
But it's also important to note that we can't substitute the necessary change in heart work
Right.
with a pill.
Right.
And so they all work together.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, eating right, sleeping right.
Mm-hmm.
Am I drinking enough water? Like
Right.
all of those things, like they feel like small things,
Mm-hmm.
but they stack up.
Right.
And it's important to remember that.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, and I hear this in a lot of different areas within recovery, is like, you know, I think one of the things that I can struggle with my own addictive personality is this big grand gesture mindset
Right.
of like, if I can't do it all, if I can't win, it's
Mm-hmm.
not worth it.
Right.
But actually being engaged in the process is winning.
Right.
And sometimes being engaged in the process looks like just taking the next right step
Mm-hmm.
today. And I feel like I hear that somewhere,
Yeah.
like
Right.
like every
Yes.
Friday night.
Right.
And so it's important to take those next right steps. And over time,
Mm-hmm.
we get to be able to get to a place where we look back and go, man, look at the steps I've taken.
Right.
Yeah. What do you feel like, you know, well, first off, I just want to give you a second. Is there kind of anything else sticking around your story that you feel like you want to share when it comes to your own mental health journey?
Um, I feel like I've gotten to the point where I've accepted that, like we talked about, you're gonna have ups and downs. There's gonna be seasons. I personally tend to struggle a little bit more in the winter. So I think just even some self-awareness around like things like that. Are there certain seasons? Are there certain times of the year that you struggle more? And maybe for me, it's being more intentional about the exercise, the eating right
Yeah.
at those times too helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. There tends to be patterns.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and if we can recognize that and prepare for it,
Right.
it makes it easier and less shocking
Right.
when it happens, which
Right.
means we can step into it with more grace.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's some people that are listening to this and they're, kind of thinking through like, man, this is cool. I don't know if I'm ready for a 5K. Like, what do you think are things that can hold people back from just even trying?
Yeah. So I think running is one of those awesome activities that it's super accessible. So really, a good pair of shoes is all you need. It doesn't take a lot of resources to get into running. A good pair of shoes, and then just really going outside.
Yeah.
And like I said, some other you can Google like couch to 5K. So if you've never done anything before,
Yeah.
then it'll give you a nice like 8 or 10 week program to just start out with, like walk a minute, jog 30 seconds, alternate, something like that. So just starting out small if you've never done anything, and just that helps to not feel overwhelmed and get discouraged. You can
Yeah.
set small goals. Just walk around the block or something, and that would be my advice, I guess.
Yeah. Well, as you're sharing, one of the things that popped into my mind, it's probably about 10 years ago, right as I got into Celebrate Recovery. I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. And
Mm,
I was like, man, I need to get into running. I need to get serious about my health. And I got a brand new pair of running shoes and like laced them up. And I'm like, I'm going to go for a run.
mm.
And I walked out the door. I did kind of my first little kind of giddy up step, and my foot landed, my leg gave out, and I fell directly on my face.
Oh no.
I fell directly on my face. And as I was laying there in the cul-de-sac, I'm like, and I was 23,
Mm,
and I'm like, what the heck am I doing here?
mm,
And like there was such discouragement
mm.
that I had in that place. Uh, and like there may be some folks listening to that now, and maybe you're resonating with that of like, man, I don't even want to put myself in a place where I feel like I can do that.
Mm,
Uh, I want to encourage you, like what I had to do that same day was get back up
mhm.
and just keep trying.
Right.
And like that step that I took was a messy step,
Mm,
but the next step was a lot better.
yeah.
And, sometimes, we've got to just take all of the expectations out of it.
Right.
Even if you can't like run right now,
Mhm.
can you walk?
Right.
Even if you can't do a 5K, can you do down the block and back?
Right.
And the great thing about what we've got coming up in September is you don't have to run it.
Right.
There's going to be a bunch of people walking it,
Right.
and it'll be a lot of fun. And what matters more than anything is that we're doing it with a community of
Mhm.
people that know that we're in this together.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Celebrate Recovery. That's what I love about this 5K that you've started putting
Yeah.
together these years. And I'm so excited to see what that's going to look like. And so, Sarah, as we wrap up here, if somebody's listening to this and maybe they're kind of in that same place that you were 10 years ago, what do you wish you would have known then that you know now?
I think it just goes back to the just find an activity that you enjoy. Like we said, whether it's walking, whether it's running, whether it's cycling, whatever it is, find something that you enjoy and just take the pressure and the perfectionism off of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish I would have told myself in the first probably year, because I think I still was stuck in the, I need to win my age group. I need to win, the women or whatever it is. And just going out and just having fun with it and enjoying, like you said, being with community. A lot of times I'll pray while I'm running, or I'll pray while I'm swimming, and just, using it as an act of worship and just being thankful that we have the ability to do those things too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good, Sarah. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Thanks for initiating this, and
Yeah.
thanks for all the work you're doing on the 5K.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really awesome time.
If you want to get signed up, it's fellowshipcr.org.
Fellowshipcr.org. That's right. Thank you for mentioning that. Well, hey, as we wrap up, I do want to say this. If you've been listening to this and you're somebody that is struggling with whether it's a mental health struggle, or maybe it's an addiction, or maybe it's something else going on, I want you to know you're not alone. And there's nothing that you're carrying that our God isn't willing and able to step into. I love what it tells us in Matthew 11:28, where Jesus himself invites us, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. We can take our burdens to Jesus. He promises not to cast us away in that place, but rather he meets us with open arms as he helps us navigate the things that we're dealing with. And so if you need a place and you need to find some people to walk alongside you in it, there is no better place than Celebrate Recovery. We meet every single Friday night at 7 o'clock, both at Fellowship Rogers and at Fellowship Fayetteville. And we would love the opportunity to walk alongside you towards deeper healing and hope as we follow Jesus together. Thanks for listening today. We'll see you next time.